witness, described as a serving officer, faced security risk if exposed during proceedings. The ruling came as the trial of the defendant commenced following their arraignment on 22nd of April on a 13-count charge bordering on treason, terrorism, failure to disclose information, and money laundering. The defense team argued that while shielding the witness from public exposure could be justified, denying them access to the witness's identity would undermine the defendant's right to a fair hearing. They maintained that proper identification of a witness is essential for testing credibility during cross-examination, adding that the provisions of Section 232 do not dispense with that requirement. Delivering our ruling, Justice Abdulmalik held that the prosecution had sufficiently justified the request, particularly in light of the terrorism-related counts in the charge. The judge relied on Section 232, subsection 2 of the ACJA, noted that the judicial authorities support the grant of such measures in the serving cases.
The Federal High Court in Abuja today restrained the Independent National Electoral Commission from recognizing or participating in any Congress organized by a disputed caretaker leadership of the African Democratic Congress. The court, in a judgment delivered by Justice Joyce Abdul-Malik, also barred former Senate President David Mark and other prominent figures in the party from interfering with the functions and tenure of elected state executives. The ruling is the latest development in the festering leadership dispute within the ADC, with clear implications for the control of the party structures ahead of future political activities. The plaintiffs challenged the legality of actions taken by a caretaker or interim national leadership, particularly the move to organize state congresses through an appointed committee. In resolving the dispute, Justice Abdul-Malik held that the claims brought before the court were valid and deserving of judicial consideration, especially in view of alleged breaches of constitutional and statutory provisions.
Concerns have been raised over the state of Nigeria's democracy, with stakeholders describing the current system as a civil rule rather than a true democratic practice, where public accountability and the will of the people are often undermined. These views were expressed by veteran Labour leader, Comrade Emmanuel Ogundiran, and the Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Oyo State Chapter, Michael Ogushino, during a discussion on, quote, 2027 Opposition Parties Summit Declaration, end quote, on BCS Current Affairs Program AM 120. Our reporter, Fedora Afolagwe, reports.
Ahead of the 2027 general elections, opposition parties have convened a summit presenting a joint declaration centered on unity, electoral reforms, and national development. The development signals a growing alignment among opposition groups seeking to challenge the ruling party and redefine Nigeria's political landscape. Speaking on BCOS AM 120, veteran Labour leader Comrade Emmanuel Ogundiran described the coalition as a significant political development, noting that it is the first of its kind since 1983. He acknowledged that while the movement is still evolving, it reflects a renewed effort to reposition the country's democratic structure. Comrade Ogundiran maintained that Nigeria is operating under a civil rule rather than a full democracy, stressing that the coalition aims to restore democratic ideals and institutional integrity. He also cautioned that the nation is gradually drifting toward a one-party system, underscoring the need for collective action to safeguard democratic plurality.
I give it to whoever the convener is. It is something, and you will see that, I think, it did the magic it was supposed to do. Because Yoruba will say, Kodumi, Kodumi, Ekanla Wima. Tobatin declare, Oroyin Odedumi. I was not bothered. No, it's a joke. They are joking. No, you see, that thing we were discussing the other time, it doesn't really pain me, but no, those people were joking. That means, in the message had been passed. You see that immediately after that declaration, the ruling party came on board. They said they are joker, they are this. Then the factions of the parties, none of those parties, there is no party apart from the ruling party that is standing as one. All others that are relevant, they have one factions or the other. So you now hear the factions coming up to speak.
Also speaking, the Public Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Oyo State Chapter, Michael Ogunshino, noted that the current political environment falls short of true democratic standards. He explained that democracy thrives on healthy political competition, warning that any tilt towards a one-party dominance poses a threat to democratic governance. Michael Ogunshino added that the coalition is designed to bridge this gap by offering Nigerians a credible alternative, emphasizing that it is people-driven rather than individual-focused.
True democracy is that in 2027 we don't reinforce failure. True democracy is that in 2027 we give Nigerians options and the privilege to pick among the options that we have. True democracy is actually agitating against INEC to do the proper and right thing in the interest of our democracy. Right? So the 9-point agenda, all of it actually summarize how a properly functioning democracy should work. And the first thing we said in that particular communique is that we assured the APC and INEC that contrary to their plans, we are going to field candidates for all elected positions from state assembly to House of Reps to Senate to presidency. We're going to field candidates. APC will not be the only party on the ballot.
Both guests expressed optimism that if sustained, the coalition could strengthen democratic practice and promote good governance in Nigeria. Fidora Afolagbe, BCOS News.
The group chairman of Odua Investment Company Limited (OICL), Otumba Bimbo Ashiru, has pledged stronger collaboration with the Olubadan of Ibadan land, Oba Rashidi Adewolu Ladoja Arusa I, to accelerate economic growth and investment in Ibadan. The assurance came during, I beg your pardon for that mix-up. The Oyo State Governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, has urged residents of the state to pray for the emergence of a worthy successor who will sustain his administration's achievements regardless of religious affiliation. The governor made the appeal during a farewell ceremony for the state's 2026 Hajj intending pilgrims to Saudi Arabia. Details of the event, held at the Olodo Hajj camp, are presented by Governor's Office correspondent Oluyole Sulaiman.
The Oyo State 2026 intended pilgrims to Saudi Arabia converged on the Olodo Hajj camp to meet and bid farewell to the state governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde. The event was graced by Muslim Ummah, top government functionaries, religious and political leaders, among others. In his address, the state governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, emphasized the need for continuity in governance, noting that the progress recorded under his administration should not be hindered by religious considerations.
Ìlọsíwájú ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ó ní kẹ́ ẹ gbàdúrà fún, àdúrà wa sì gbà. Gbogbo ètò tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, nígbàgbọ́ pé wọ́n ti ṣe, ṣùgbọ́n àwa náà a ní sùn títí tí ẹ fi lọ, tí ẹ fi padà wá bá wa láyé àtàlàáfíà.
Governor who pledged a donation of 2 new buses for utilities and logistic movement of the Hajj board members in Nigeria and Saudi Arabia charged the intended pilgrims to be good ambassadors of the state in Nigeria and in Saudi Arabia.
Alhaji Yashim Atere, the chairman board àwọn alálàájì, ẹ ó ní bí ti yàtọ̀, ó ti yàtọ̀ bí ẹnu tọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni àbí ẹ̀kọ́. Ó ní Christian ni ó bẹ̀rẹ̀, Christian ni á parí ẹ̀, kò ní mí nì lọ́dọ̀ mi. torí pé kò sí fámìlì ẹnì kankan nínú wa tí ò sí kìrìsìtẹ́nì tí ò sí mùsùlùmí bẹ́ẹ̀. So anything tá a bá ṣe a ṣe fún fámìlì ẹnì kankan wa náà ni.
In their goodwill messages, the Deputy Governor, Barrister Oluyole, and a former Speaker of the Oyo State House of Assembly, Senator Monsura Sumonu, described Hajj as a sacred obligation that demands discipline and devotion. They charged the pilgrims to remain focused on the spiritual essence of the exercise and to remember Oyo State and Nigeria in their prayers.
Gbogbo àwa tí Ọlọ́run wá kàyé lọ́dún yìí láti múra láti lọ sílẹ̀ mímọ́ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ẹ̀kọ́ yá wọ́n ti ń bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ẹ̀ pé iṣẹ́ hajj là ń lọ sí o kì í ṣe nǹkan míì gbogbo wa àràfà lánàbọ̀ lọ́rùn ṣe fún wa.
Earlier in his welcome address, the chairman of the Oyo State Pilgrims Welfare Board, Muslim Wing, Sheikh Hashim Atere, commended Governor Makinde for his unprecedented support, which he said has ensured a smooth preparation for the 2026 Hajj exercise. He disclosed that the first batch of the 1,036 intended pilgrims from the state will be airlifted to Saudi Arabia on Sunday, May 3rd.
Rírì gbogbo pàtẹ́kù lórí ayé yìí ẹ jẹ́ kí n bẹ̀rẹ̀ pẹ̀lú nǹkan kan tí kò hàn sí àwọn èèyàn ní àjẹ́ ọdún tó lọ. Ní àjẹ́ ọdún tó lọ processing BTA ó fẹ́ pẹ́ díẹ̀. Nígbà tí a dé Èkó láti fẹ́ gbéra gbọ́ngbọ́n fẹ́ sọ ojú ẹsẹ̀ tí gómìnà ti gbọ́ ó ní wọ́n ti ránṣẹ́ wípé chairman ní gbọ́dọ̀ wà báyìí ó ní mo wà ní Ìbàdàn ìbọn ń ṣètò láti kọ́ bàjẹ́ lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ àwọn first batch ń kọ́ ọ̀gbọ́n lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ẹ máa lọ bí báyìí mo ti arrange fún yín àti escort tí ó escort yín ẹ lọ máa ṣètò rẹ̀ lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ gómìnà ni wọ́n rescue wa ní ọjọ́ náà tàbí rárá.
Highlights of the event included Quranic recitation and special prayers offered for Governor Seyi Makinde. Olalekan Sulaiman, BCS News.
The group chairman of the Odua Investment Company Limited, OICL, Otumba Bimbo Ashiru, has pledged stronger collaboration with the Olubadan of Ibadan land, Oba Rashidi Adewolu Ladoja Arusa I, to accelerate economic growth and investment in Ibadan. The assurance came during a courtesy visit by the company's board and management to the Monarch's Advisory Council at the Olubadan Palace, Okearemo, Ibadan. Leading the delegation, Otumba Bimbo Ashiru described the Olubadan as a visionary leader with strong economic insight, noting that the palace had already initiated discussions on areas of collaboration. He assured that Odua Investment Company would work closely with the palace to support initiatives aimed at boosting local businesses and expanding economic opportunities. Responding, the Olubadan Oba Rashidi Ladoja Arusa I expressed confidence in the capacity of Odua Investment Company to compete globally, urging stronger synergy among regional development institutions. In his remarks, the group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of OICL, Abdurrahman Yunusa, appreciated the people of Ibadan for sustaining a peaceful and hospitable environment conducive for business operations.
This broadcast of Newscope comes to you from the Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State, Ibadan. Organizers of the 2026 Shaki Bere Festival have called on the federal government and the state government to support tourism development in Shaki with a view to unlocking the economic potential of the Okyogo zone. Addressing pressmen on behalf of the committee, Chairman of the Shaki Parakpo Development Association, Mr. Wole Oladokun, described the Bere Festival as one of the oldest cultural celebrations in the region. Mr. Oladokun disclosed that the committee has initiated conducted discussions with relevant government agencies, including the State Ministry of Culture and Tourism and the Nigerian Tourism Development Authority to secure institutional support. The committee also highlighted several tourist attractions within Shaki and its environs, including Asabari Hill, the Osuru Waterfall and Oge Dam, as well as local industries such as shearwater production, all of which can be developed to attract visitors. Preparatory rites for the festival, according to the committee, commenced on the 28th of April, with a traditional 13-day notice expected to be issued by the Okere of Shaki Obakalid Oyeniyi Oyedepo III ahead of the main celebration, which will begin on the 10th of May. The grand finale is scheduled for the 18th of May at the State Agricultural Development Program Sports Complex in Shaki, where top government officials, traditional rulers and cultural enthusiasts are expected to converge.
As the world marks Immunization Week, thus the message this year is clear. Quote, vaccines work, and the work for every generation, end quote. From birth through early childhood, immunization has continued to save millions of lives globally and remains one of the most cost-effective public health interventions. Our reporter, Awal Ibrahim, in this report observed that vaccination in Nigeria has significantly improved child survival, with far fewer deaths from diseases that once claimed many young lives. Our report is presented by Bimbo Akombi.
Immunization remains a critical tool in preventing childhood killer diseases and safeguarding the health of future generations. Since its introduction, vaccination has protected millions of people worldwide, including over 150 million children. For more than 5 decades in Nigeria, immunization has played a vital role in reducing the spread of diseases such as measles, polio, diphtheria, pertussis, and other life-threatening infections. Speaking on the significance of the week, the immunization facilitator, Oyo State Primary Healthcare Board, Mr. Adedamola said the campaign is aimed at raising awareness and sensitizing communities on the importance of vaccines, particularly new introduced ones like the human papillomavirus, HPV, and malaria vaccines.
We have a structure we call World Development Committee, and this committee comprises of the community leaders within the settlement. We have the religious leaders, we have different community-based organizations. These are the people who made up of this committee, and their sole responsibility is to sensitize and help the facility at their settlement to make sure that whatever activities we are carrying out at that level is being publicized, is being synchronized to the community, which this is one of the structure we are using to tackle vaccine hesitancy.
In an interview with BCS News, Mr. Adedamola noted that while vaccines are central to child survival, they must be complemented by other essential health measures. He explained that in many communities, especially high-risk areas, factors such as proper nutrition, timely treatment of childhood illnesses, and access to clean water are equally important in ensuring children's well-being. He also urged parents to adhere strictly to their children's vaccination schedules to guarantee full protection.
As a parent, because if you missed any of the vaccination, your vaccination is not complete. And such a child, if exposed in one way or the other to any of these diseases being prevented with this vaccination, would surely come down with that disease. And we are saying to our parents, please and please, let the children complete their vaccination so that they can protect themselves and the nation at large can be void of diseases.
As the world observes World Immunization Week, Nigerians are encouraged to take advantage of available vaccines and adopt coordinated approach to child health, ensuring that every child as the opportunity to live, grow, and thrive.
On the foreign scene, 2 people have died after a small plane crashed into an hangar at an airport in South Australia. Foreign News Editor Folashade Akintola compiled the story and others now presented by Bimbo Akobi.
The aircraft burst into flames at Parafield Airport in Adelaide after it crashed on Wednesday afternoon local time. South Australian Premier Peter Malinauskas wrote on social media that a number of others have been injured. The plane involved was a twin-engine Diamond DA-42. According to the Australian Transport Safety Bureau, which has launched an investigation into the accident. According to the manufacturer's website, each Diamond DA-42 aircraft can seat up to 4 people. The South Australian Police said in a statement that the immediate area has been evacuated as emergency services deal with the incident. A man has been detained after stabbing 2 people in North London, according to a local Jewish volunteer security organization. The man was seen running along Golders Green Road in North London, armed with a knife and attempting to stab Jewish members of the public, the group said on social media. He was reportedly detained by members of the public before police officers tassered and arrested him. The 2 people stabbed are said to be receiving treatment at Zola, a Jewish volunteer ambulance service. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer condemned the utterly appalling attack and vowed that those responsible will be brought to justice. Jewish Charity, the Community Security Trust, said it was working closely with the police and urged anyone with information to contact the police, Shomrim and CST immediately. The Board of Deputies of British Jews said, "We are liaising with the CST, government and police to understand what has happened and ensure a forceful response." The incident took place not far from where 4 Zola ambulances were set on fire in an anti-Semitic hate crime on Highfield Road in April. There has been a string of arson attacks targeting Jewish sites in North London. And finally, Ukrainian regional government officials say Russian attacks across Ukraine have killed at least 3 people and injured 17 during stalled United States-led talks to end the war in Ukraine. The head of the next military administration, Vadim Filashkin, said on Wednesday that at least 2 people were killed and 4 wounded in Russian attacks in the region over the past 24 hours. In a message on Telegram, Filashkin said 19 Russian attacks on Donetsk damaged dozens of houses, apartment buildings, and infrastructure facility and a minibus. The Interfax news agency reported fighting in the region forced the evacuation of 867 people, including 34 children from the front line in the past 24 hours. In a separate Russian drone attack, 1 woman was killed in the northeastern Ukrainian border region of Sumy. The head of Sumy's regional military administration, Oluyole, said on Telegram the strikes deliberately aimed at residential buildings caused large-scale fires, and a 60-year-old resident of one of the buildings died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Bimbo Akobi, BCOS News.
To end this edition of Newscope, here again are the top stories. The Senate has approved a $516 million syndicated loan request by President Bola Tinubu to fund the construction of Section 1, Phases 1A and 1B of the Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway.
The Federal High Court in Abuja today restrained the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, from recognizing or participating in any Congress organized by a disputed caretaker leadership of the African Democratic Congress.
The Oluyole State Governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, has urged residents of the state to pray for the emergence of a worthy successor who will sustain his administration's achievements regardless of religious affiliation.
2 people have died after a small plane crashed into a hangar at an airport in South Australia.
That's all from the Newscope desk for now.